Coming to you from a portable microphone, this is Don't Get Me Started. This is a conversation about advertising. And here is your host, freelance creative director and creative circus department head, Dan Balser.
Yes, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm realizing now as we sit here that this is something like 3 in a row, young female circus alumni, and the hits just keep coming. So that's good. So it's weird, man. It's weird for me. It's weird for me because these are alumni that were students to me like last week. But nope, they've been out for 5 years now, pretty much killing it in Chicago. And I'm hoping that we can talk to them about switching jobs, working as partners, all sorts of different adjustments to the professional world. And I'm saying this in large part for Danae because before I started recording, Danae said, "What's the outline of this? What are we going to talk about?" And if you're a longtime listener, you realize, or maybe you don't, that I have no fucking clue what I'm going to talk about, although I made some notes. So Danae Belanger is here. She's a senior art director at mcgarrybowen. You knew that from the name of the show. Both of these women graduated from the Creative Circus in the fall of 2013. I believe that's accurate. They've both done some comedy writing at Second City in Chicago.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that as we get going. Danae was an intern at Donor here in Atlanta while she was in school, pretty much just killing it. Danae is not lazy. Danae is a person who does not phone it in. Danae is a person who does not do what she was told to do only. She'll do what she was told to do, but she'll do it well, and then she'll do more. And I really kind of wish that there were a way to demonstrate and show that kind of work ethic to today's students, because I think that today's students who are like that, and there are some like that, are the ones who tend to have roads paved before them, and they get to do they have options, put it that way. So they were both together at DDB in Chicago for 2.5 years, a little over 2.5 years, before moving to mcgarrybowen, where they have been since August of 2016. Danae, welcome back to school.
Thanks, Dan.
That's what Danae sounds like. A very serious voice. Madison Jackson, whom I have called behind her back Mad Jack. Madison Taylor Jackson is her complete name, 3 presidents, and her birthday will often fall on President's Day. Is a refugee from Portfolio Center, where I graduated before there was a Creative Circus. We call it PC, which stands for pre-circus. Madison is a copywriter who I really kind of want to talk a little bit about her development as a professional and as a writer. She also graduated in 2013, was Danae's partner at DDB for 2.5 years, and is now Danae's partner as a senior copywriter at mcgarrybowen, where they work a lot on Olive Garden. And they did the spot that I've seen running on the television for LifeLock. Was LifeLock at mcgarrybowen?
That was at DDB.
At DDB's. I've seen those commercials. Good stuff. So, cool. Madison, welcome back.
Thanks, Dan.
So how does it feel to be back, you guys?
It feels good, a little weird.
It feels like I never left, but at the same time, it feels like everything is different.
Yeah, time warp.
There's a lot of buildings near the school now.
Oh, the whole area around the school is really different.
Yeah, it used to be kind of just
a barren wasteland.
Dead zone. Yeah,
yeah,
now there's like
apartments,
townhouses here.
Townhomes.
Right.
If you can believe it.
Condominiums.
Yeah.
So this is a weird question that I just thought of. Do you feel, I'm sure you do you feel like it's constructive? Do you feel deserving to come back and talk? I thought what you guys did in Forum and what you said was really, really, really profound and helpful. I think that their perspective being pretty recent is really helpful for students. But how did it feel getting up there talking in front of students?
Well, we actually...
That's Danae.
This is Danae. We didn't really like you. We didn't really know what we were going to say until last night or this morning. I'm sure that's actually a lot more common with forum speakers than we think it is.
Oh, we've had some people come in and literally just say, what do you guys got? Bring me some questions. One of them, Don Shelford, who's a great director, opened up his laptop and he's just like, let's see what I want to talk about. Just start opening up folders. You probably were here for that. But anyway.
Maybe, yeah, I think I was. I mean, yesterday was, well, let me go back even further. The last 2 weeks we've been extremely busy at work. Nights, weekends.
Mercury retrograde was definitely coming for us.
Yeah, so we didn't have much time to prepare back in Chicago. We got on a plane yesterday that was supposed to be just a 2-hour flight to Atlanta, turned into a 5-hour journey with a stop in South Carolina for gas, bad weather, all of those things. So we didn't even get to start on our deck until last night when we got to our hotel around 11. And then when we got to the hotel, we were promised Wi-Fi. And they did not deliver.
I made 2 calls to the front desk. No Wi-Fi.
So yeah, Hyatt Place Buckhead, you failed us.
Get your shit together.
God.
Yeah.
Never heard of that. That's not good.
Yeah, so we did the best we could without internet, and then this morning, in between looking at student books, I was just secretly grabbing images off the internet and putting everything together, and it turned out okay.
This is Madison. I had made an outline of the presentation before we got here, so we knew that we wanted to talk about like the realities of the industry starting out. Because I remember coming to forums and we'd have these legends, right? These people that are just like, oh my gosh, the work that you've done in your career is incredible. But like, you don't start out like that. Some people do, and that's great. But like, we wanted to talk about like what it's really like when you get out of school, start working, your first commercial, what that could be like, and learning and growing all the time along the way.
What have been the biggest noticeable adjustments that you've had to make from school to DDB or from DDB? I really just want to talk about that adjustment from school to the real world. Yeah,
so I think the biggest thing for me was scripts. I think in school at the time, script writing was not really something that I learned very thoroughly. I think the format that I learned at that time was like a video column and an audio column, which is just like a very archaic way of writing scripts. Yep. So, I mean, the only way to learn things is just, like, by getting thrown in, being immersed into it, and figuring it out. So, like, I did, but that was kind of a little bit of a frustrating experience at times, because it was, like, all we were doing was writing TV scripts, and I just felt, like, a little inadequate. But once you figure it out, it's, like, you're good. Like, it's just coming up with an idea, but...
Yeah, I think for me, it was a little different. One thing I hear a lot from students is that they don't know InDesign when they get into their jobs. I use InDesign all day, every day. I've had dreams about InDesign. Just knowing that ahead of time will get you so far in your transition.
Are your dreams that you have like a toolbar to handle things that are real?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. This one time when I was still in school, I had this dream that I was actually sitting on the loading dock out front of the school, and there was a car parked in front of it, and I literally hit like Command Shift, and I dragged my finger, and the car got bigger in ratio.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
Yeah, that's happened to me more than once. It's very weird, but it's also...
might want to step away from the computer every now and then.
Yeah, just shows that that's what I'm thinking about.
Danae's been writing down her dreams lately.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I had to.
Do you have a way to wake up to do that?
I don't. I was having like really bad nightmares for a while, and so I think it was because I was listening to too many scary podcasts about like true crime. Mm-hmm. So I was having these like really scary dreams, and like it would be something scary where on the train all the walls fell off, and then there was dead bodies and like terrible stuff like that. I would have to take a lift to work because I was scared to go on the train. So that's just like a glimpse into my life. But
so you have a pad or paper on your nightstand?
I have it in my purse. So if I have one, I just write it down like on the train or like when I get to my desk. It hasn't happened in a long time. The journal helped. I also bought a crystal. My brother lives in Phoenix. I went to visit him. We went to Sedona. Mm-hmm. So bought a crystal like you do for dreams.
What does that mean?
A crystal?
Yeah, what do you mean with a crystal?
Like a crystal. Like a geode.
Right?
It's like a pink crystal.
So what's it supposed to do?
A quartz. Each crystal, there's so many different... I love crystals. There's so many different kinds of crystals, and they all serve different purposes.
Do you watch the show I'm Sorry?
I don't.
No.
On True TV. I cannot even tell you. I strongly recommend it. And there's a whole scene about a crystal place where a woman goes in to buy crystals, and they're all the different purposes.
It'll blow your mind if you go into a crystal store.
Crystals are very in right now. Okay. So this isn't like a new thing. I think crystals are pretty cool generally.
There are many kinds.
So explain to me the function of it when you're trying to access your dreams or what have...
My dream crystal, I keep it either next to my bed, or if I'm feeling especially vulnerable, I'll put it under my pillow or in my pillowcase. Mm-hmm. And it's just like a pink crystal. It's not quartz, but it's a little more opaque than that. Mm-hmm. And I forgot the name of it, but in the shop they have like all the description of what these are for, and this one said it was to prevent nightmares. So I bought it right away, and I haven't really had a nightmare since.
Danae brought me back a stone that helps with telepathy from Arizona, so guard your brains.
Oh, that worked too, because last night at the airport at O'Hare, we sat down at C-24, And I sit down and the woman next to me goes, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Atlanta." She said, "They just changed the gate." And Madison had told me right before we sat down, she said, "I think it's C-25. So we checked the board and it was C-25, had not been announced yet.
So if you're telepathic, you're just looking and it's just an empty box staring at me right now. It's like, and you know what? I've often thought about this. I don't know why we're going off from this, but I find it fascinating to think that if you could actually access someone else's consciousness, wouldn't it sound like a foreign language? Like you couldn't navigate it because.
Well, yeah, stream of consciousness is a crazy thing.
It's insane how many thoughts I just had that I can see them the same way you see a word flashed at you, but it doesn't really register. You just kind of internalize it as it's occurring. So how disorienting would it be to be in someone else's consciousness? It'd be fucked up.
I'm in your brain right now, and I'm exhausted.
Or you know how people ask a lot, like if you have a dream in a different language, it means you're fluent. I actually seldom have words in my dreams.
Interesting.
People are never talking. I'm never reading anything. It's just things are happening. I did have a dream in sign language once in college when I was taking sign language class. But
Sweet.
that was really creepy too.
Very interesting. Okay, so what so far in the careers has surprised you? What has surprised you, either being like crazy, crappy, shitty, or like surprised you in that you didn't? You mentioned the scripts, right?
Yeah.
But what else, sort of about just sort of the journey, the first 5 years from junior to senior, and that what has surprised you? What did you not expect that kind of maybe either blindsided you or pleased you? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a hard one to think of on the spot.
I can give you my answer just to jog it for myself. I was surprised at how much was reliant on us to fill the time and how less intense it was from school. Like in school, I think we were like running on a much higher gear, and trying to stay intense with maybe a project at a time was kind of hard. That was surprising.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think being back here makes me feel very like stimulated.
Yeah.
Like almost overstimulated. There's just so much creativity going on in here that I don't feel in my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
I used to, like, in Atlanta, I would go to a movie and I would just think about, like, the color of the dirt in this one scene of the movie.
I love that.
You know, things like that. And then in my life in Chicago, it's not, you know, I don't really have that same curiosity anymore.
Yeah, I think that, it's a harsh reality, but I think, like, 98% of the ideas you come up with, like, just don't ever see the light of day. And that, you can't be afraid to, like, kill your darlings or whatever, but, the 2% that do get made, like, makes it all worth it. Like, there's nothing better than, like, seeing your shit on TV or, like, in the real world. That's great. But it's just, like, at circus, it's like you come up with a good idea, you make it. Like, you see it all the way through. Like, and not all of those things make it into your book, true. But you're just constantly, like, this and that and this and that and all these things at the same time. And then when you get into actually working, it's like you have a project manager who makes sure that you're not doing too many things at once so that your focus can be in the right areas so you're not overloaded.
You still have that?
Yeah.
You have that at McGarrybowen?
We have two creative managers.
Yeah. I'd like to give a shout out to Peggy Ward at DDB Chicago. She's an angel and a saint, and I really miss her. And I'd also like to give a shout out to Kristen at mcgarrybowen, who is equally as much a saint, and we're really happy to work with her now.
Creative managers are a special kind of people.
Yes. They take care of us.
You guys had mentioned in forums, someone asked the question that I was going to ask you on the podcast about why did you move from DDB? Because obviously you're working on great stuff and it was good opportunities. It's a great agency. It has been for decades. And one of the things that you had said was that, you know, as a junior, it's kind of tough to get stuff sold, right? And I think that students don't realize, and jump in and correct me or agree or disagree, I think they don't realize coming out of an environment like school where you and your partner have a great idea and it happens, your job at an agency like that is to kind of like just have options for the bigger team. So you're just basically churning out. You're basically an assembly line. Here's a bunch of stuff. Here's a bunch of stuff. Here's a bunch of stuff. And whether or not one of yours quote unquote gets sold is sort of not even barely secondary to what you're being hired for.
Yeah, I think like one of the things about DDB that was hard for us to come into was, you know, imagine you're in circus and you're coming up with these great ideas that you think are great, that you thought long and hard about with your partner. But then you find out that Dan Balzer has also done some work, and he also has an idea in the mix. And, you know, you're never going to be
You're probably not going to.
You're probably, okay, not never. You're probably just not going to sell an idea over him. He has so much experience and, is such a smart guy. And that's kind of what DDB was like. There were all these people there who have been in the industry for 20, 30 years and have made really great work in their career. And when you're on the same brief as them.
So what was the value of it? What did you get out of that time? Like, how was it good in that context? Because it sounds maddening.
The good thing I think you can take away from that is that being around those kind of people was really inspiring, and we learned so much from those people. Some of those people weren't even that old, Chad Brody. Shout out to him. Chad and Brian. Yeah. Brian Board. Chad has his own agency now in Chicago called High Dive with our old ECD Mark Gross, who was also awesome.
Yes.
But Chad was not that old either, and but he was, one of those people who just is going to slam dunk it every time. So it can be hard. The competition can be hard at a good agency like that.
I think it drove us two things. It drove us to work harder, and it also drove us mad, but we did end up selling some work in our almost 3 years that we were there. Some work that we really liked that we're proud
Skittles?
of. Yeah, we sold through a print campaign for Skittles.
That's the one that got in CA?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was really fun to work on. And it was just weird and wacky, and Skittles is just such an awesome brand to work on.
That was also just supposed to be a banner, a static banner.
Interesting.
And it turned into static banners and print.
So I'm thinking about this from the perspective of a listener who might be a student or a junior who's considering maybe going to, when I said the upside, your upside was being around great people and learning from them. Obviously, from everything you said in your body language and you talk about DDB, it was a good thing. It was a good time.
Yeah, we can't say enough good things about DDB Chicago. Loved it.
So that was a good first job for you.
Yes. Great place to start out.
I think that it was, we didn't make a lot of baskets, but the baskets we made were really good ones.
Yeah. Well, we had to hustle. And I think it groomed us, prepared us really well for the second job. So we're really grateful that we got our start there.
Yeah, tell me why you were interested in mcgarrybowen. What was it about that opportunity that you guys wanted to pursue it?
I think that we were ready to really get our hands dirty, to really get more production experience, more responsibility, be more client-facing, all the things that come along with a senior role.
That's great.
I think that we were ready to be a senior team, and at DDB Chicago, they don't have senior titles. There's mid-level, and then the next thing is ACD. And there's quite a big gap between those two roles. So
and this is the thing, they have them already. It's not that you're not going to be promoted. It's there's sort of, those slots are filled. So you kind of have to leave to have that responsibility.
Yeah, and I think we should also mention that we were so fortunate at DDB to work under Jean Bathany.
Oh, yes.
Amazing woman who is now, I think, VP of Resorts at Disney.
She's internal.
And she was someone that we worked under at DDB and was the most amazing leader I think I've ever
such an
worked
advocate
under.
for women.
Yeah, great role model for us. And when she left for Disney, mcgarrybowen was actually her client now, or she was their client now. So I think don't underestimate the connections that you're making in your current job, because we left for mcgarrybowen because Jean gave them a nudge, and that's kind of that got the ball rolling for us. They had already contacted us, but she sped it up. And we definitely had heard rumors that at DDB people saying, oh, they just got that job because of Jean. And
we did.
That's how it works. Honestly, we never went into it thinking it was that was what was going to happen. It was just, wow, this is an amazing woman that we work for. We want to spend as much time with her as we can and learn everything we can from her.
Are you on her account at all?
No,
we work on, there's two sides to mcgarrybowen. There's the Disney, Oscar Mayer, JCPenney side, and then our side, which is Mondelez, Darden, Olive Garden, and Marriott, and the craft beverages.
Yeah, it's really two agencies on different sides of the floor.
So we work, our ECDs on that side are Dave Rieger and Michael Strasnigas, Dave and Straz, who are fantastic.
Scared the crap out of us when we first got there. But,
how? Why?
Straz. Where do I start? Straz is an old school art director, ECD. He is very hard on his art directors. I felt for a long time he was never going to be proud of me. And for me, the type of person I am, I hate to disappoint my teachers or my bosses. That was so hard to feel like I was constantly letting him down. but it was just because it was a different business model.
Did you understand why you were? Like, let's just assume for the sake of conversation that you actually were letting him down.
Yeah.
Did you understand why? Was he giving you feedback that was educational, constructive? I mean, one of the questions I wanted to ask both of you, I started asking this last episode, is the difference between the kind of feedback you get from teachers and the kind of feedback you get from creative directors. Are the creative directors giving you creative direction and helping you grow and learn? I mean, or was it just sort of like, try again, blindly?
I think that depends too.
Yeah.
I think at DDB, a lot of creative directors were actually just functioning as very high level creatives, and feedback wasn't so strong. And then at McGarry-Bowen, I feel like it's still constructive, but people don't always have the time that teachers have in the real world.
I think it was kind of a difficult road for us to trudge when we came over to McGarry-Bowen at first, because we had a certain way of doing things at DDB that just wasn't the way they did it at McGarry-Bowen. So we dropped the ball a couple times. Honestly, like, we deserved the criticism that we got. And I think that having that sort of first impression is like it's really hard to turn around from that. So I think that, like,
You can, though.
Yeah.
And we did, and we have.
And like, we can't say how much, like, we love working at McGarry-Bowen.
Yeah, and I just, when I had my review with Straz after I disappointed him so many times, it was, months later, and I said, all I've ever wanted from, day one is your trust. And he said, you know what, Danae, you have my trust, and not only that, you have my support. And that just, like, was a huge turning point, I think, in my life at McGarry-Bowen, because before that I was just very nervous all the time.
Well, that lets you do the work too. It lets you go off and kind of make decisions too. I think it's really great when you have a boss who trusts you and supports you. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, you definitely need to be supported by the people around you and not feel undermined. Not that I was being undermined, but it can feel that way sometimes when you don't know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's growing pains too from mid-level to senior. Like, we had the senior title, and we're still kind of performing at a mid-level. And so we had to bridge that gap, and we did.
We're there now. It took us a little while, but we got there. Yeah.
Cool. So, abstract question, you might not know the answer to it. Why do you think you got hired at DDB, and why do you think McGarry-Bowen? What was it about your books or yourselves that you think McGarry-Bowen wanted? What was it that got you hired?
I think DDB was kind of just. I think that just could have been anybody. Honestly, I don't think it was about us.
Anybody good.
It was the first iteration of Launchpad in Chicago. They had never had creative interns that had graduated from school before. So I think they were really just looking to fill spots. And I agree that, like, they might have just been waiting for the right people. But
yeah, I think
if we had shitty books, I don't know if the same thing would have happened. But they were definitely looking for bodies at that point.
Yeah, it was good timing, like luck, and also, like, we had good books to support us, and I think we made an effort to get to know everyone during the internship, and to, like.
But what Danae is saying is basically you guys had a ticket, and they said, okay, they tore your ticket and said, come on in, right?
To the internship.
To the
Right,
internship.
exactly, right.
And
And
anyone
then getting hired from an internship is a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But we've seen it go bad fast for a lot of people.
So how'd you get hired?
I think what Madison said, we just tried to be the most popular girls in school.
What does that mean? What does that mean in a business context?
We worked hard and were nice to people.
I think we also just tried to be visible, make sure that people saw you and knew who you were. And
Get
just
there early, like, stay a little late.
make sure that people, like, know your name, go to happy hour, but like, don't be crazy, but, be fun. Definitely, like, the kind of interns that you have that if they leave, you're kind of like, oh, who? Or they're gone. You don't want to be that kind of intern. You want to be the kind of intern that people know and don't want to lose.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, who we tried to be.
That's cool. So you mentioned Jean Bethany earlier as a role model for women. You guys, I'm assuming at your job level, you have not hit the gender issues yet. But has there been any that you've seen? Is there any?
No, we've had a few situations. We had one account guy. We got briefed on a NFL assignment one time, and this account guy, after the briefing, he said, to me and Madison only, let me know if you have any questions about football.
Little did he know.
Little did he know who I am.
You're like a Giants fan?
Yeah, big time Giants fan. So he said that to the wrong bitch. But, and it was one of those things where I didn't say anything back, but it was just, I didn't see him saying that to any man in the room.
God, how did you not say same? Yeah, let me know if you have any questions.
Let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah.
Why not the Bills?
Just like my family is just New York Giants people. You know, being in Albany,
You live
growing up in
closer to-
Albany.
You live closer to Buffalo?
Yeah, no, we're 2.5 hours north of New York City,
Oh,
2.5
okay.
hours from Boston. It's like
Oh,
literally
okay.
split 50-50.
Oh, okay.
New York City teams, Boston
Yeah,
teams.
Boston teams.
Agree, yeah.
I'm sorry, listeners from Boston. I'm sorry you have to live in Boston. So, talk about your partnership and what would happen if have you had situations where one of you was out, had to work with someone else? Is this something that you guys were aware of when you were here at school? I want to work together. Talk about how you have dealt with conflicts.
Sure.
Anything you want to talk about that's going to give people perspective. Is it important for people to leave school with a partner? All those kind of things.
I think our partnership kind of just like fell into our laps. It happened really naturally. We were friends first here at Circus. And then
We didn't really work together on anything here.
Yeah, not in class.
One time, yeah.
We did a side project together. We came up with just like a random idea when we were outside one day, and
But you liked each other's work.
I remember.
You just know Danae.
I didn't know her really.
I remember my first, because I transferred here from Portfolio Center
we gotta
my
talk
fourth
about-
quarter,
we gotta
and my
talk
very
about that
first
too.
class.
We're going to talk about that?
Yeah, we can. I walk into this class and it's like Kate Carter, Pete Jostran, Rory Jensen, Danae Belanger, like all of these.
Right, that was the U.S. national team, I think.
Yes, all
That was
these
the
just
Olympic
like
team.
incredibly talented creatives. And Danae was talking with Kate, and she was talking about a side project where she was gonna do rap videos with sign language, and I was like, oh my god, what's a side project? You know, I just like had so much to learn in transitioning from there. But I just remember thinking that she was really smart and that she seemed really cool, and that like I would like to hang out with her.
So there's no adjustment time for that. That was easy. So what about when you guys disagree? And I guess I'm asking this like, my real question is, do you think it's important or helpful or ideal or necessary for someone to be looking for a job with a partner?
I think it can help because at the end of the day, your partner needs to be someone that you don't mind spending a lot of time with.
A lot of time.
It's a lot of time. And I think
I spend more time with her than anyone else.
Yeah.
Than my family, with my other friends, with my boyfriend, like with my dogs.
With my dog, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's important that you get along, but also that you can push each other to come up with the best ideas, because we definitely don't agree all the time, and like sometimes there can be tension when like we disagree. But it's like it's about respecting each other's ideas enough to like not shut the other person down, and to like get to the place where you need to be at to help the idea be the best it can.
Has Danae sent you back to your computer to write some more?
Yeah, she's very direct with me, and that's what I need. And you know, honestly, sometimes I can be really lazy sometimes, and like I'll lean on her a little bit too much. But that's something that like with time, like I'm getting better with, because like unfortunately for her, like she's also a really talented writer, which I learned when we went through Second City together. But like she is not the copywriter. I'm the copywriter. Like I need to do my job because she has her own job to do.
Well, Madison was just in Alaska for like 11 days last month. And so while she was gone, I worked with someone else, and I realized that, you know, we kind of had flopped an assignment that she left me the copy for before she left.
Yeah.
And then we flopped it, and at first I was like,
What does that mean, flopped it?
We just
Failed?
did it wrong.
we
We
missed the mark.
We bombed.
None of it was going forward.
Okay.
And it was like an Olive Garden online video. And I remember at first being like, you know, angry at Madison for a little bit for not leaving me with the copy that I needed. And then I realized like I had been leaning out really hard, because sometimes I am leaned on a lot. So sometimes I'll just lean all the way out, but you can't do that. Even
It's just communication.
And just like that was kind of a turning point recently too, to figure out like the balance between like how much of a script should an art director, how should an art director be involved in writing a script? It's been 4 years and I think we still don't know what the balance is.
It's different every time.
It's really interesting.
After you write a script, it's all in my hands. I have to do so much work on the back end that she can't really help with. So it's kind of like a weird like balance.
Yeah,
there.
and I think like that assignment that we flopped, like we course corrected ourselves, and the next one like we just sold all of the online videos. So it's just like, you know, you figure
learn
it out.
fast.
It clicks,
You cracked it, right.
and then you got it. But
So
Yeah.
you just mentioned the national team. You mentioned all these really talented people. You guys were in here with so much talent in the building. Is there ongoing competitiveness and or jealousy with your peers do you ever look across the fence and say, God damn it, or how the hell did they, or that should be, any of that stuff happening? Is it some of that destructive thinking about really jealousy or any of that kind of stuff happen?
I mean, the only time I would ever feel like that was with someone who I didn't believe deserved it. Mm-hmm. You were just mentioning Kate Carter before we started, I think, or maybe after we started. Mm-hmm. Like, Kate Carter is amazing, and I wish her all the best things in life. Like, if she gets a promotion, if she gets an award, like, I am rooting for her. Martin Baker, super smart guy, one of the smartest people I ever met, like, rooting for him all the way.
But I think that, like, there's not a finite amount of success to go around.
That's a great answer.
So,
that's the answer.
Yes. So I'm happy for everyone's success.
Right. It's not zero sum.
Yeah, I think when someone's successful from Creative Circus, it's just, this place produces amazing creatives. So when people are doing a great job out there, I feel really happy for them.
Happy for them.
And honored to know them. And it's like, you never know, like, where you'll end up. So it's like, there's no point in being unhappy for other people. It's like, just work harder so that people can be happy for you too.
I love that.
Yeah, there's no finite amount of success out here, and also someone else's success is not going to be the same as mine.
Yeah,
it's true. What is success?
Success.
Oh, let's think about that for a second. You don't have to answer it. So, Madison, I got to tell you, so you represent to me one of the best success stories of my teaching career. Wow. So for the listeners that don't know this, so Madison came here from another school. And we sat down in my office and we went through her portfolio, and I was my normal sort of blunt self, kind of critiquing all the work, and you took on this sort of body language of like, yeah, well, I'm not so sure you really know what you're talking about, because this stuff was everyone loved all of this work, and this is my book, and I'm not quite sure who you think you are telling me that this isn't good because I'm like the best writer at this school. At the old school. I'm like, okay, so I wasn't happy with that. I don't know, I didn't take it personally, but I thought it was I was concerned that somebody that someone came in with that chip on their shoulder. And then I start seeing your face change to almost represent a person that's like, oh my God, I didn't really know what I was up against. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what it takes to actually be good. And then you end up having one of the most well-fleshed out, well-thought-out, intelligent portfolios, an incredible speech at graduation, a wonderful advocate for the school. And it actually gives me, in my limited role in this industry, so much fulfillment to see that the construct or whatever that we have here can provide that. So it gives me a lot of fulfillment to see you here today, like kicking ass so much with Danae, was always kicking ass.
Oh man, thanks, Dan.
So it's good. Oh, actually, I saw you guys at a book review at Fido a couple years back when you were still at DDB, and I was like, man, they're just badass, just complete badasses. So
I think the school humbled me. And that was something that I really needed.
I think it's good to do it before you start working.
Yes, absolutely. Creative Circus taught me really everything I know and got me to kind of deconstruct all like the negative, like the ego and those sort of things, and to build a book and build character at the same time. And I just couldn't be more grateful that I made that switch, because I really don't know where I would have been otherwise if I had stayed at Portfolio Center. Sorry, guys. Anybody?
She's crying.
I'm not. But
no, really
go
cool.
to Circus. Go to Creative Circus.
That wasn't intended to be that. I was just sharing a very personal moment of myself of sort of fulfillment's not the right word. It's there's a word I'm trying to find it, but I can't find it. But it's not contentment either. It's validation or something.
Yeah, you guys got a something
like
that's working here, and it's like
it's a magical place.
Really working.
So you guys have worked on a bunch of different kinds of stuff. I love to see that you've had opportunity to throw your talents onto different media and different types of accounts. What do you, Danae, you can start this one. What kind of work do you like to work on the most? What's your favorite type of stuff to do?
Fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fun ideas.
Yes.
Like this ridiculously weird Skittles ads.
Yeah, Skittles is fun. We were just working on a Kool-Aid project, and Kool-Aid, at the bottom line, end of the day, needs to be fun. I don't like to work on serious things, just like not my favorite, not my tone.
Have you ever? Have you ever had to work on something like kind of like
Yes,
heavy?
American Cancer Society.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like how heavy does it get, you know?
Right, it's not funny.
Like, I think we can work on anything, and we do, and we will. But I think, like, as we grow in our careers, it's like we know where our strengths are. And I think that it, at the end of the day, is coming up with big ideas. I think we've always been had a really big strength and coming up with ideas. It's just a matter of, like, landing the plane.
So you don't care what it is? Like, you don't care if it's TV or social or print or poster?
No,
or
I think we like
radio?
working in traditional media, but, like, what is traditional media today?
Yeah, we were telling someone this morning who asked about, like, oh, am I a digital designer, or am I like can I do traditional even though I only have and I said it's 2017. You know, the lines
for design. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm not a designer. I think there is such a thing as traditional graphic design versus digital design, because you're talking about packaging design, logos, environmental versus UX or apps or websites. But for advertising, I think that digital, what the fuck digital is, social, digital is all traditional media now. And I think the only thing that's not traditional media now is emerging media like VR or guerrilla or experiential or extravaganzas and those kind of things. Spectaculars, I think is the word I'm looking for. Like the stuff that like takes over a building. I think that's actually an industry term, spectacular. I think that's what you have to make when you install something at Times Square. I think it's called
installation.
I'm always learning new things from you, Dan.
No, but like the ones that have like smoke coming out of the coffee cup. That's like a spectacular. But those to me are non-traditional. But everything else that we consume on a daily basis as consumers is traditional media.
I think everybody that's coming into this business now, you need to be able to, if you're an art director or designer, you need to be able to design a website. You need to be able to design an app. But you also need to be able to design, print and maybe packaging.
How much digital design have you done or logos have you done at ad agencies so far?
Logos, not many, but I do a website every few weeks.
Oh, wow.
For Olive Garden. Mm-hmm. Every promotion
you
has
guys do email?
a website. I haven't done an email.
Not really.
I did an email like years ago at my old internship, but we haven't done it.
Yeah, we don't really touch that. It's mostly just websites and banners.
We do a lot of like paid content on like Waze app for Olive Garden, because in case you're driving and just decide you want lasagna.
Right.
Sometimes that happens.
That can happen. It's happening right now to somebody for sure.
Yeah.
So that's everything. So talk to me about Albany and New Hampshire.
Yes.
And you end up in Chicago. Talk to me about Chicago. And do you like Chicago? Do you like the ad scene there, the lifestyle there? Are you guys happy in Chicago? And this is not to say anything about you're going to move or you're not happy at mcgarrybowen. But another thing that people kind of get hung up on is the city they live in. Have you been able to live there?
Yeah.
Have you been able to enjoy the city?
I think we have great quality of life in Chicago. And I really didn't like Chicago at first because we got there in January 2014 during the polar vortex.
The winter that never ended.
I drove from Atlanta straight to Chicago, and it went from like 60 degrees to like negative 20 degrees. And it snowed for like 50 days straight, and we had to Google Earth to see what the ground looked like. And it was just like, we've made a huge mistake.
Right.
But with time, like I've grown to really love Chicago. It's really easy to navigate. There's a lot of great culture and restaurants, and each neighborhood has its own personality.
Has anything there inspired you? And you talked about how, Danae, you said that earlier you don't do the stuff anymore that inspires you. But is there anything there that has inspired you? Because I had moments in New York where I would get a good 10 days off of something I saw on the street or after something I saw in a museum. I would get a good 10 days of good ideas just from being mentally stimulated from that.
No. And I think that I'm learning about myself as I get older that I don't think urban areas are as inspiring to me as nature is.
That's interesting. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I'm the exact opposite.
Sylvia used to always say, like, go look at nature for like 10 minutes a day. And where I live, it's like, there's a park, but it's a park. It's not, sprawling forest like where I grew up. So I don't think that my anchor lies in Chicago.
Yeah. I don't think either of us feel like that's going to be our home forever. Yeah. But we both grew up in the woods.
You guys have guys have such a great attitude, though. I think you guys have such a great frame of mind for the stage that you're in your career right now, for the account you're working on and the attitude you have, embracing that and embracing everything as part of a longer sort of arc. Because I think that I just got through everything I talk about is whatever I just was thinking about 5 fucking minutes ago.
Yeah.
So in class yesterday, I was talking a lot with them about thinking like this is the first time when you graduate school that stuff isn't measured in years or even 4-year increments. It's measured in a much longer arc. Like nothing's a marriage. Like, where are you going to go to college is so important. You're going to go to Fordham or wherever. And
Don't go to Fordham.
so now it's sort of like, no, everything is sort of setting up the next one thing. And everything is sort of learning to sort of build on. I think that it just sounds like you guys have such a good sort of frame of mind on that. So what's each of your number one piece of advice for somebody who graduates next month, which is coming up? So by the time this comes out, it's after graduation, but
yeah, our big piece of advice was to get to the fucking point. I think it's really easy. I know I'm guilty of it, of overthinking, but at the end of the day, we're creative problem solvers. Like, people need to be able to understand and take away our idea immediately. So it's like, if you feel like something is too complicated, it probably is.
And if someone says they don't get it, it's because it doesn't make sense, not because they're idiots.
Yeah,
for sure.
And nothing's like
that's your problem.
Yeah,
not theirs.
Nothing's a personal attack. Like, you have to be able to, detach yourself from your work and to be willing to like kill things, change things, rebuild, restart.
And my advice is to just do the most. I mean, I think you do have to know when to do the most. If someone's asking you to just do some standard banners and here's the image and here's the copy, don't do the most there. Just do what they're asking you to do. But if you're starting, from the ground floor on a commercial or on, kind of any piece of something that could be anything, really just do the most. Like, give yourself the time to explore it and do as much as you can, and you'll never regret it. If anything, you'll regret that, you came to the meeting and someone else had more or better ideas than you. You'll never regret being the person who brought 5 ideas and everyone else brought 2. So, yeah, definitely do the most. And people notice when you are a hard worker.
Yeah.
It's not something that people don't see.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, and don't take yourself too seriously either.
Take the work seriously, but not yourself.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for doing this.
Yeah, Dan. Thanks for asking us.
That's Madison. You can reach Madison at Madison at, no last name. Madison Jackson is reachable at Madison at goalittlemad.com. That's also her Universal Resource Locator. Did you know that's what URL stands for? Universal Resource Locator.
Also, I'm like 99% sure that's my email, but if that doesn't work, it's madisontaylorjackson@gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used Google Mail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they both go to the same place, but
yeah, I have, I think, something like 14 email addresses.
Use them to get free stuff, different promos.
Yes.
Ooh, and then delete.
Yeah.
But then you got to go and delete the. You don't delete the address. You have to go and delete the mailing list.
No, so if there's like something that's like, oh, you get free first class at some gym, you sign up with one email, and then you get the first class, and then you sign up with another email, and you get another free class.
If there's one thing Danae Belanger is good at, it's finding a deal.
Right. I don't think that's a huge scoop, Danae. I think that's.
You'd be surprised how many people are bad at it. So.
Danae.belanger@gmail. Everybody, I always want to say Belanger, but you'd have to be a hockey player to be called Belanger. I think you have. I think your father's family is French Canadian.
My both sides are French Canadian, but it's I think I'm like 3rd generation, so it's like douchey,
Belanger.
Belanger.
Well, I just think that you shouldn't pronounce one word in another language. No, like someone says, I'm going to have lunch today with Pedro. It's like, no, you're having lunch with Pedro. Don't just pronounce one word of your entire life in like Spanish because that's the one Spanish word you're using today. So it's Belanger.
It's a lifelong struggle. I grew up saying Belanger. Yeah. Yeah.
You can reach me as always at danspodcast@mac.com. That's the same email that goes into my box. The same thing as danbalser@me.com, danbalser@mac.com, dbalser@me.com, dbalser@mac. There's so many emails. Just use danspodcast@mac.com so I'll know that you got it from listening to the podcast. Please like the Facebook page. It's facebook.com/DGMS podcast. You should have already liked that. Actually, you know what? I lost a couple of likes this week. Who unlikes a podcast?
Savage.
So if you're listening to this, if you decided after unliking it that you didn't like it enough to continue liking it, but are also listening, send me a note and let me know what disappointed you or let you down and why you decided to no longer be my fan. There's a bunch more of these conversations coming. I've been doing it for 10.5 years. I have no intention of stopping. It's another one in 2 weeks. Madison, thanks again.
Thank you.
Danae, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Let me know what you think, listeners. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. Bye. right?
Yeah, I get sweaty doing it.
Oh.
That was so fun.
All right, thank you guys.
Oh, we love you.
Love you too.